So I know I just talked about why I believe the time is, now, if not already, has happened for a female artist, independent or established, to do a Sledgehammer-like music video, basically bit by bit, scene by scene, pretty much a remake of the entire Peter Gabriel one, but to their own song and everything. But what I want to do here, what I want to do here is basically ask a question. And that is, when did you, those people watching and listening, when did you guys first see the 1986 Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer music video? When did you first see it, and what were your thoughts of it? Well, I will start off since, I'm basically asking the question, so I'll give my answer, my own little answer to it. Now, I think I've mentioned this before, but back when I was a kid, around 1986, I think it might have been early 87, but mostly around 86. I was 7 years old, or at least going on 7. And, I was being homeschooled by my mom. Yeah, believe it or not, I was homeschooled by my mom, and I didn't really get into regular public school until about beginning, I don't know, I think it was like the fall of 86, beginning of 87. So I was a late bloomer, basically. And, long story short, one of the channels that my family would watch, or at least my sisters would watch, was MTV. It was still kind of in its infancy. Well, I wouldn't say it's in its infancy. I think, what was it, like 5 years old at that time? A few years older than Disney Channel was. And my sisters would watch it because basically at that time, MTV was everything it said it was. It was music video television. It's like it had a few, shows and everything here and there, and whatnot. And, the main selling point though for it was a place where you can watch non-stop music videos. Almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But it wasn't at 24 hours. It was mainly, because I think at the time they were still limited to where it's like you begin at 5, 6 a.m. in the morning. You got to end by at least 11 p.m., 12 midnight, if you will, go off the air and wait another 4 or 6 hours before coming back on the air. And I think that applied to MTV as well. So anyway, I remember being at home with my mom. I think I was just finishing up the homeschooling and stuff. And she tuned into MTV because, again, like I said, MTV, had a variety of music videos. It wasn't just, hard rock, it wasn't just, metal and all that. But it also had music she liked. It had some country. It had some Christian, believe it or not, so she would tune in. And I think she was, I don't know what she was doing. I think she was either making lunch or she was just cleaning up the living room or something. And I remember basically one day she had the song, she had it on. And, I think it was at the time she had it on. Like I said, I don't know what she was doing really. And Peter Gabriel's video came on, and she called me into the living room. She called me into the living room and said, "Hey, Brian, come look at this." So I went to go look at it, and I was mesmerized. Because what I saw there basically was, basically a cartoon come to life. That's what I saw. I saw a cartoon come to life. Because here you had this guy singing this song that, at that time, none of us, at the age of 6 or 7, had any clue was about sex or intercourse, if you will. And he's just singing the song and everything. And while he's singing, you see all these things happening, around his face. And then you get to the part that really just, I think, blew a lot of people's mind. It wasn't his face being sculpted out of ice or anything like that. No. the part that really blew everybody's mind was the fruit face part. And I was just like, as a kid, I was like, whoa, this is kind of cool. I like this. But then it got better. Because after he did the fruit face part, and then he did I guess you could say the house part and everything, he went into the claymation. And you got to realize at that time, one of the things I would watch on television was Gumby. And Gumby was claymation, and that reminded me of Gumby. I was like, oh, cool, he's claymation now. Well, I didn't know it was claymation, but still, I was like, oh, he's now the same way Gumby is. That was one of the things that went through my mind. I believe. I'm trying to remember as best I can. But yeah, I remember seeing all this, happening to the guy. Basically, his face turned into different things. It turned into a fruit face. He had a house built around him, and he was supposed to be the house now. And then all of a sudden, the claymation starts, and and then basically from there, all you see is his mouth on a pink wall with little dots and everything that you don't even know at that time it's supposed to represent semen. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to represent, guys. Sperm, semen, whatever. So you don't know that. All you know is this guy just hit himself in the face with his hands that turned into sledgehammers, or hammers, basically. And now all that's left on the left of him is his mouth that's still moving on a wall, now part of the wall. And then all of a sudden you see this yin-yang sign. I didn't even know it was a yin-yang at the time, or what it was called. But you see this envelop his mouth, and all of a sudden you see him singing again because the mouth appears now in gray and everything. And then after that, that switches up, and that little yin yang thing, or yin yang face, becomes a bunch of fishes, goes into the water, and then the water sprouts up and everything, and you see his face, on the waterfall or whatever. And then from there you see his regular face again, and then you see it become a collage wall. It was just, just that claymation part alone, as a kid, it mesmerized me. There was no doubt in my mind that I had found a favorite of mine. That anytime it came on, I had to watch it. Because I was entertained. It entertained me. It kept my interest. Is what it did, because of its creativity. Because basically what I was watching was essentially a 5-minute music video that I had no idea was about sex. I had no idea the lyrics meant, were very innuendo. I had no idea that some of the imagery, even in claymation, was meant to represent other things. But to me, it was basically a 5-minute music video, where a guy had become a living cartoon. And he was essentially turning it into all these different things, because the one lyric that always stuck with me, even back then, and as I was, growing up and finally going into my teens and 20s and finally learning exactly what it was all about, or what the song really was about, the one lyric that always stuck out to me, and I'm sure anybody else, was, "I'll be anything you need." And the moment he says that, all of a sudden, all this craziness happens. And he basically becomes anything, I guess, your imagination can think of, or his wild imagination can think of. He becomes anything, literally. He becomes, essentially anything. He becomes, like I said, a fruit face. He becomes a house, basically built around him. He becomes claymation, where he turns into, basically becomes part of the wall. Then a yin. It's like, yin yang sign that turns into fish and becomes water based, and then a waterfall going up, going backwards and everything, and then becomes a wall, collage wall. It's like, and then he becomes at the end, he becomes part of the starry sky, becoming a starman, and it merges with the sky. And again, that lyric was the one thing that always stuck with me. And I'm thinking, oh, cool. Cool, this is really fun. I like watching this. And like I said, anytime it would come back on, I would watch it. I would watch it all the time. Anytime it came on. And then, to get even better, you had Big Time premiere a year later. And even though it wasn't very, very memorable at times as Sledgehammer, it still had those Sledgehammer-like vibes. It still had basically callbacks to it and everything. Like when he's, like, in the claymation part that they do have where he says, so much stuff on your own, you have, these two big fat guys, suddenly just squash his face and, have all the stuff just surround him, just, envelop him, and then his mouth is just right there saying so much stuff I own. And it's like, okay, that's very Sledgehammer-like. And then the ending, of course, just like with Sledgehammer, where he becomes a Starman, the ending for Big Time is he becomes a flower guy. And it's like, it's no wonder when you look back at this guy's career in the 80s, and even somewhat trying to make a comeback in the 90s, why people, like his style. And now you even wonder why, I constantly come on and say, anytime I see a female artist, do something that gives me those kind of vibes in their music video, it just, like, to me, it's just a matter of time before we actually see it happen, or it's just a matter of time before somebody points me and everybody else in the direction of a video that did do it. But yeah, I remember, like I said, when that came on, it just blew my mind. Again, as a kid, as a kid at that age of 6 going on 7 years old, you have no idea. You have no idea at that time that it's talking about sex. You have no idea that the lyrics are very innuendous. You have no idea that some of the imagery, even in claymation, is meant to represent, sex and sperm and, seed and whatever, ejaculation, if you will. You have no idea it's supposed to represent all that. You have no idea. But to me, all it really was, to a 6-7-year-old Brian Walmer, all it really was a 5-minute cartoon, 5-minute cartoon come to life. Basically, someone becoming a living cartoon. That's all it was to me. That's all it was to me. And I'm sure I'm not the only one that shares that. I'm not the only one that shares that. Because it was that crazy, it was that wacky. It was I'll put it this way, very Looney Tune-like. That's the best way to express it. Very Looney Tune-like. And what's crazy is nowadays, you have people in the past several years, I think thanks to the pandemic and everything as well, that, when they do these reaction videos, they'll try to find something that they can react to that maybe they haven't seen, period, at all. And this is the first time. And there is a lot of videos here on YouTube where people will react for the first time to this video. Like, they'll like the video, like they'll like the music and the song and everything, but then they'll see the video accompanying it, and their reaction is like, holy crap, what the heck is going on here? Or the other way they would say it, holy bleep. Like, what the heck is going on here? But yeah, it's like, you see people reacting to it for the first time, maybe because from the generation that came after mine, and they're just blown away. And then when you tell them, yeah, this happened in '86, they're even more shocked. Of how good and creative and innovative this video is, only to find out that it made its debut in the mid '80s. That's how impactful this song is, or this music video is. That even those that were born afterwards, way afterwards at times, watching it for the first time and then finding out when it was made, it blows their mind. Like, wow, I didn't know they were capable of doing that. And well, guess what? They were. And now we're in an age to where if somebody, like I said, I have a feeling it's going to happen, if not already has happened, could use the technology we have to remake it with their own song. And that's why I'm always, like I said, always constantly saying and believing and knowing that it will happen, if not already has happened, with a female artist / singer. But that's when I first discovered it. That was my first time watching the video and discovering it, period. But now, what about you guys? Like the title of the video says here, the question title of the video says, when was the first time you saw it, and what was your first reaction? How did you feel about Sledgehammer when you first saw it? What was your first reaction to, everything that was going on in the video. Did you catch on basically to when he said, "I'll be anything you need," and then you see what happens throughout the video? Did you catch on that that's exactly what he meant? Like when you see him turning into all these things, he's basically going by what he said by saying, "I'll be anything you need." He becomes all this. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Let me know when you first found out. How did you feel about it? Comment below, live chat down during the premiere, like the video, and until next time, guys, I will talk to y'all later.